Good morning. Welcome to Member Focus Monday. I'm Christina Schaefer, Social Media Manager for HAR. I'm joined this morning by our Director of MLS, Shawn Dauphine. Shawn, welcome.
Hi, thank you. Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us again.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
This is your third
I believe
appearance?
it is. Third time, yes.
Very good. So really quick, if you don't mind, for our members who don't know you yet, if you could just introduce yourself and tell us about what you do here.
Yeah, I'm Shawn Dauphine. I'm the Director of MLS here at HAR, primarily responsible for maintaining the relationship with our vendor CoreLogic, who operates Matrix and Realist, as well as our relationship with Supra, who provides the lockbox system for HAR. We also oversee MLS rules enforcement through our Quality Assurance Department.
Great, very good. So if you have any questions as we're going through for Shawn about Matrix or about the MLS process as a whole, type those into the comments and we will get to those questions a little bit later. I wanted to start with one of the most frequent questions that I think we get from our members. It seems like every couple of months this question kind of comes back up. And it is, why do we share listings with other websites like Zillow, for example?
Yeah, I mean, the main reason is we do that on behalf of brokers. I mean, HAR is not making the decision to syndicate listings to other portals. We're really just providing the platform for our members to make that decision.
Mm-hmm.
So, brokers that do not wish to send their listings to Zillow can opt out at any time. They are not required to send their listings to Zillow.
Okay.
What we found with other MLSs that did not provide that mechanism is the larger brokers continued to send listings to Zillow. Even if HAR was not syndicating to Zillow or other websites, the large brokers and franchises would continue to do so and put the smaller ones at a disadvantage. And so they've come to us in the past and said, hey, why don't you guys do this on our behalf? Make it easy for us so that not all brokers are scrambling to do that on their own.
Right.
And so it also helps keep the data a little bit more accurate on Zillow as well. So
I would imagine that would be really difficult for independent brokers that are trying to explain to their clients and customers, well, why isn't my listing on Zillow?
Exactly.
Right?
I mean, and the reason brokers, and sellers really want their house on there, I mean, Zillow is one of the #1 sites across the country, right? It's not #1 in Houston. Luckily, we have HAR.com, and we're still hanging on to the #1 spot in Houston.
Right.
But sellers do expect their listing to be on Zillow most of the time, I would expect. So, if you're going into a listing presentation and your competition is advertising the listing on Zillow and you're not able to do that, it kind of puts you at a disadvantage.
Sure.
So again, we're just providing the platform. The brokers make that decision, if they want to send it or not.
Yeah, so key point there, brokers can opt out of that.
That's right.
Now can they pick and choose which listings, or?
Typically it is all the listings of a broker, but if you have a particular seller that does not want to be on Zillow, yes, we can handle a listing specific opt out. So just tell us which listing it is. Again, that needs to come from the broker. Just a simple email to idx@har.com will suffice, and we'll get that out there.
Very good.
And I'll say another piece of misinformation we hear out there is that HAR.com is making money off of Zillow and sending those listings. And really, Zillow does not pay us to provide those listings. It's basically free advertising for the brokers that do choose to do that.
Sure.
However, we're not receiving money on that. What we do receive is a link back from Zillow to the HAR.com listing detail page. So every agent has traffic coming from Zillow from their listings. And when it gets to HAR.com, that listing detail page does not advertise other agents, so all those leads go directly to the listing agent and the listing broker.
Sure. We actually had a question that ties into this pop up in the MLS Platinum Subscribers Facebook group yesterday, and that was about the control they have over their listing once it gets to Zillow. Do you recommend that people do set up a profile on Zillow's website so they have a little more control there?
I think so. I'm not real familiar with the control that you have in terms of editing your listings, but I do think it's a good idea to have a profile there. I mean, consumers are going there, and if you have a more robust profile and a picture, the more likely they are to contact you, I would say.
Yeah.
In terms of just your listing content, typically, they pick up new listings and any changes from HAR.com within 15 minutes to 30 minutes.
Okay, so it's pretty quick.
Sometimes they miss some. I mean, it just happens when we have so many listings and so many modifications every day.
Right.
But for the most part, they do pick up all of those changes. So I would make the change in Matrix and then wait for it to populate over to Zillow.
Okay, good. But yeah, that is something that they can do, is go set up claim their profile over there for free.
That's right.
Yeah, very good. Okay, so I wanted to ask you another really common question that I see come through, and that's just about MLS fines. I think maybe we don't, or the MLS rules in general, maybe we don't have a really good understanding of that whole process. So why do we have the rules and why the fines? What is the goal there?
Well, I mean, our quality assurance department, I mean, it's set up to ensure that all the subscribers have access to timely and accurate data that conforms to the MLS rules. Okay, so I mean, you know, in a perfect world, we would never issue a fine. Okay, we send out a correction notice to the broker, the listing agent, the office manager, and the admin, giving 5 days to correct a violation before a fine is ever issued, and that's what we hope, you know, happens, right?
Sure.
You know, if we did not have rules, we'd have more like a Craigslist type atmosphere in the MLS rather than a little bit more order that we have today.
That sounds scary.
And I would say, I mean, these rules, we have an MLS advisory group. It's made up of realtors that, you know, do business from all parts of town, different market segments, and they review these rules, and then they recommend them to the HRIS board of directors, who's also made of realtors, and then they ultimately approve and these rules that then go into place, and then it's up to the quality assurance department to fairly implement these rules as easily as we can, or as fairly as possible.
Very good.
And so I think a lot of agents think that HAR staff is just sitting up here, you know, looking for, you know, violations and listings, and that's really not true. We have computer systems, it's called Listing Data Checker, that really looks at listing content, compares it to public records data and other rule infractions. And then so we use that system to help notify agents to make those corrections. So we also have, you know, several thousand, you know, realtor agents out there on the street that are helping, you know, identify problems and letting us know about those. So we spend most of our time reacting to the violations that are detected through the system and that are turned in by other members.
Sure, that makes sense. And I really think that is beneficial. Some of the rules seem kind of obvious, like uploading photos of the listing. Like, I mean, that just is benefiting your seller. No buyer's going to want to see it if there's no photos. So
Right.
really, it's just beneficial all around. Now, I wanted to. There's some things that have happened in the MLS since we last spoke. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say before we get off of that, in terms of correction notices, sometimes they get caught in spam, and so they may not get the email. So we've been proactive, and Claudia, if you want to throw up the image up there, inside of Matrix, there's a widget on the homepage where any agent can go and see their violation history, any outstanding notices, as well as any reported violations and kind of what the status is of their reported violations. So that's on the Matrix home screen widget. So you know, again, take advantage of that notification process as well.
And I always tell members, you have an excellent team up there of staff that in the quality assurance, and Nathan Goebel, who's the project manager. And really, if you ever have a question about, maybe you're filling in a listing and you're not sure if you might be about to violate a rule, just give them a shout.
That's right. No, that's what they do. They do a phenomenal job. Our average hold time is under 30 seconds right now.
That's
I mean, we're
amazing.
here to assist members. I mean, not to find members. We want accurate data, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah. And if you do get an MLS violation, contact them, right?
That's right. And there's also an appeals process. So within 5 days of a fine, if you don't feel like the rule was enforced fairly, you can certainly appeal it. And there's an appeals process that ultimately is heard by a group of realtors that sit on the advisory group.
You shared some stats with me last week about June and the amount of people that actually received a fine. Do you want to share those?
That's right. So, I mean, typically we send out, you know, if you've ever had a listing, you've probably gotten a correction notice.
Sure.
I mean, it's almost inevitable. So we send out about 6,000 correction notices in June. Less than 4% actually receive a fine. And we do have a process once a year. If you have not had a fine in 1 year, there's a waiver process where you take an online rules class and you can get that fine waived.
Yeah.
Once a year.
MLS defensive driving.
Exactly.
All right, very good. Well, I wanted to get into some changes that have happened since you were last here. You last joined us in February. You told us about some things that were coming in Matrix, and some of those things have been implemented.
That's right.
One of which is quick edits. Can you tell us a little bit about quick edits?
You bet. Quick Edits is really an HR.com app feature.
Okay.
So a lot of members don't realize that HR.com and the HR.com app are really a separate database and a separate system from Matrix. They do talk to each other, but they're completely different systems. HAR owns HR.com app and the HR.com website. CoreLogic owns Matrix. So getting those two systems to talk together has been a challenge over the years, and we're doing pretty well, but this new Quick Edit is another step in that direction. So if you go into the mobile app and you're looking at My Listings, you'll see two little buttons at the top. One is for Edit in Matrix, which takes you into the Matrix platform, Just like you're familiar with editing in Matrix all the time, that's the platform that you would see. However, it doesn't work too well on a phone, right? It's pretty good for a tablet or a desktop.
Right.
But on your phone, to make a full edit, you don't really want to use the Matrix interface. So there's another quick edit button, and that keeps you into the mobile app, and it allows you to change a handful of fields quickly and easily without going into the Matrix interface. And so in the background, the app is talking to Matrix and making the updates in Matrix for you, but it's all handled within the app.
That's great.
So the next slide, Claudia, if you want to show, these are some of the fields that you can go in and really change quickly and easy. So price, status, remarks, are easily accessible right in the mobile app. So quick and easy edits. So if you get a notification and you need to fix something, this is a quick way to do it if you're on your phone.
Yeah, that's great. That's really helpful. Last time you were here, Matrix 360 had just been rolled out. What has been the feedback from our members about Matrix 360 since then?
I think we've received positive feedback. It was a change that didn't require everybody to learn a new system, which was really good.
That's helpful.
Yeah, that's very helpful. So really it added a new display to the already list of displays that you have to choose from. So when you go into the Matrix 360 display, it brings in all the tax from RealList all into one interface. So you can see tax information, deed history, there's a flood map and a parcel map all in one location, so you don't have to jump around.
That's
and
wonderful.
if you want to make that your default view, you can do that as well.
That's very good. You mentioned earlier Realist. We still have Realist. We still have access to Realist.
That's right.
About how much longer are we going to have Realist available?
CoreLogic has indicated they're going to continue to support it. I mean, they have accounts that don't use Matrix that do use RealList, and so they're going to need to keep that alive for some time. The challenge with RealList is it's dependent on Flash, and so that does not work on the iPad or iOS devices. And so bringing that tax data into Matrix with 360, there's an advantage on the mobile platforms.
Okay.
But if you like RealList, you can continue to use that at this point. We have not had a cutoff time.
Good. So just a reminder, if you have any questions for Shawn, type them into the comments, and I know I've seen a couple pop up, so I'll go ahead and take a look at those in just a second. But if you have a question for Shawn about anything we've discussed, go ahead and type it in, and we'll get to it in just a moment. So a couple questions about Zillow, about that first question that we discussed. Lily just said Zillow pays for the RETs, or would they not have, or they would not have access? Am I right?
Zillow is not a broker, so they don't get what we call an IDX feed, which is one broker's ability to advertise another broker's listings. They are a portal, so we have a direct license agreement with Zillow, and we provide that listing content for those brokers that have not opted out. So, you know, they do use, you know, the RETS interface. That's just a piece of technology that they use to replicate it.
Okay. We did have also, Shandell said, can you please review the steps for accessing quick edits on the HAR app?
Sure. You, when you open up the HR.com app, in the main menu there's a link for My Listings. And once you click on My Listings, every listing you'll see a button. You click into the listing you wanted to make the edit, and then at the top it'll say Quick Edit.
Very good.
Very simple.
Okay. So are there any new features, other new features in Matrix that we should be aware of?
Oh, yes, we recently released version 8.3.
Okay.
CoreLogic did that to all of their clients. Some of the major features are the ability to reorder the search results. So right now, you can order any column from, you know, least to most, or whatever sort for any column. You can move columns around. That's something we did not have in Tempo, but you couldn't manually reorder them. So if you
Right.
if you've got 4 listings and you want to put them in a certain order, you can do that and then do driving directions or share them with a client in that
That's
regard.
helpful. That's really
so
helpful.
that's one of the main features. The other one, similarly, in the speed bar, if you want to type 5 ML numbers separated by a comma, they'll actually, the search results will be in the same order that you entered the MLS numbers in, not by price or whatever other sort order you have. And so that's a
great.
handy feature agents were looking for.
Very good. Let's just take a look. What sources does Matrix tax pull from?
From the county appraisal district. So, you know, CoreLogic works with, you know, over 200 appraisal districts in Texas. We have tax for all the counties in Texas, and so they get it straight from the appraisal district.
Very good. From the source, right?
From the source. That's right.
All right. So you just mentioned several updates that we've had. what's coming? Because it seems like there's always something good coming with Matrix.
I mean, we rely on member feedback, and so, there's a feedback tab inside of Matrix, and so we get a lot of requests from them, and that's the kind of information we take to the advisory group, who then makes those decisions to make certain changes, right? One of the things we're working on right now, sort of like the quick edits, is really to be able to synchronize contacts. So I mentioned that HR.com mobile app is a separate platform than Matrix. So when you have contacts in the mobile app, they don't necessarily the same contacts inside of Matrix client portal. They don't sync up. So we're looking to be able to sync up the favorites, the notes, and the contacts. When you open up the HR.com mobile app or the client portal, the same list of contacts will be available in both spots.
That's great. That'll be really helpful.
Another feature we're looking at is the HR Media Uploader app. So this will be a separate mobile app you would download, but it'll allow you to upload images directly into Matrix. So in the background, it's doing all of the work to get those photos and descriptions into Matrix from your mobile device.
Very good.
It also allows you to upload videos and sound bites to HR.com directly. So that's in the works, and we're expecting that in the next quarter.
Very good. Anything else?
Well, I did recently have the opportunity to attend the CoreLogic user group meeting, and so it was encouraging to see that they've got all of their clients on one platform, that being Matrix now. And so they are really starting to make some changes that I think are going to benefit our members. They're working on 8.4, the next release. They're doing some things in terms of the user interface just to make it a little better looking, right? So Matrix was developed quite some time ago, and it looks like it, right? It's kind of stale. So you may have noticed, like, the new news page that comes up is kind of done in that modern style.
That's really nice.
So they're going to be updating the CMA and the auto notification emails are some of the first pieces that they're going to be redoing in terms of just the look and feel of the system. So
well, that's really good, because that's actually going out to our agents' clients, that's what they're seeing. So it's a reflection of the members. So that's really good.
That's right. That's right.
Very good. Okay, let's see if we have anything else. Just a lot of people telling you good morning and thank you. This is very helpful. All right, I don't see any other questions. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
Not today. I think we're pretty much covered everything we were looking to.
Good. Well, thank you so much. This has been quick and easy and helpful, just like Matrix, right?
That's right. That's right.
All right, so that is it for this Member Focus Monday. We will be back next Monday at 9 a.m. and we will actually be doing a hands-on demonstration of a tool within Matrix. So we'll be announcing that later this week, what that's going to be. So we'll see you next Monday at 9 a.m. Have a great week.